All right, a special encore performance. Ray Wood and I had some fun doing this little thing on Facebook Live called Glenn and Ray's Excellent Adventure, the tribute to Bill and Ted. But so you're going to enjoy this first episode on mindset and how getting ourselves ready to take on this current marketplace that has been, challenging across the country, I would suggest. And so we go deep dive into how to kind of manage this brain so that then in the subsequent episodes and in the coming weeks, we can tackle some of the more hardcore skills. But if we don't get this right, none of it works. Have fun. You want the normal real estate training you've been told a million times? Make cold calls, knock on doors. Best be switching off now, because in this podcast, we go out of the box using unknown tactics, primarily, that the real estate industry's never heard of, in order to get you called in more often, convert those listings, and get more success without the painful cold calling. Listen up, we're in for a ride. This is Real Estate Renegades.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Glenn and Ray's excellent Facebook Live adventure. I think Glenn is not far away. There he is. How you going, mate? Good morning.
Good morning, good sir. I am just sharing the little stream around. So you can do the Ray's intro while I do the tech stuff, mate. And,
okay.
And then I'll just jump back on. So if you see me clicking about the place, I'm just sharing this stream all over the book faces there. Good sir.
All right. All over the faces. Good work. Well, those of you that I haven't had the pleasure to meet and to know, my name's Ray Wood, and I live just south of beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I am what am I? I'm an author. I'm a partner in a couple of companies. One is Locked On. We make real estate software. The other one is Jiggler. We make real estate flyers and give agents the opportunity to jump online and create lead generating things like that. I've written a book called How to Sell Your Home for More. It's my book, nearly 300,000 sales. And I've ghostwritten this one for agents and done a heap of other things, just marketing and stuff like that, and just enjoy speaking with agents, hanging out, having fun, and very much looking forward to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. G&T, tell us about your good self.
Well, mate, I just
that you're a former stripper.
Yeah, mate, I tell you, hey, that's why I got into real estate, mate, because I didn't do too well in that last location. Mate, with all my tech savvy, I managed to share the stream, the Facebook.
Good work.
To one place. No, to one place. That's how crap I am. So I'm going to say to Naomi, hey, Gnomes, if you're out there in the Facebook worlds, can you share this around? Because I'm a hack. So Ray, you can share it to at least your page, because you got 10,000 more followers than me. I remember, guys, I sat in Ray Wood's seminars back in the day upstairs at the Greek Club, probably 15 years ago, I would suggest, Ray. I'm not sure, maybe 10.
In the front row, I remember
it. Many moons ago.
You were flicking things at me.
Not at all, mate. I was flicking notes. That was just pages flying from the notes I was taking about copywriting mastery and influence and persuasion through the written word. So
I do remember, actually, I was about to make a point and you kind of second guessed me. You're sitting there nodding and I'm going, who is this bloke? He knows exactly what's going on here. So it was a lot of fun. So I have been in bed with a wog for the last couple of days, so if I start a coughing spree, I'll excuse myself. So can we I want you to intro yourself as well, Glenn, just quickly, but actually, why don't you do that first, and then we'll get in a little bit of housekeeping, get things underway.
Cool, man. Well, for those one or two people who've never seen my bald head before, then where have you been hiding? Because I guess I've gotten known as a bit of a marketing guy in that, I started off as a bit of a fringe player, a little bit of an out-of-the-box thinker. And here's the thing, Ray, many of my guys would know, I got finalist for this Thought Leader of the Year, and that brings to me connotations of innovation and coming up with new ideas and out-of-the-box thinking. But I just copied from people outside of the industry, and I'm seen as an innovator. I just didn't copy off all the same real estate coaches that everyone else seems to copy off. And copying's a great idea, but if everyone copies off the same thing, that's not good. So, we all look the same. And as you guys would imagine, we all do look the same in real estate space. So I was seen as an innovator and an out-of-the-box thinker because I went traveling the world, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, learning from not only real estate coaches like yourself and every real estate coach that is in Australia, but also many of the international marketing speakers and things as well. And then what I did was I applied those out-of-the-box tactics, those things I'd learned from other industries and from other countries, and I tested them on these crazy early adopters like a Chris Gilmore, like a Michael Spillane. I remember Matt Steinwade for a couple of years was on every second one of my web trainings. All of these early adopters came to learn some of these ideas. And over time now that I love that all of those early adopters are now speaking on stages around the country and doing millions of dollars, I've sort of gone from this fringe player to a bit mainstream because the stuff works. So, and I'm noisy. That's why I say that most people would have heard of me, even if they don't like me, because I annoy them. I'll never stop. Like, people think that there's an unsubscribe button on an email and they think that's going to get rid of a marketer. Oh, Ray. It's like saying to Woolworths, you know what? I'd like to unsubscribe from you, Woolworths, and never see your brand name again. I mean, good luck with that. You can't hide from a marketer. So here we are again, folks. How's that unsubscribe working for you now? You still got me.
Well, it's a free country. You can tune in or you can not tune in. So
that's it.
We want to get into and give you some great content today. So firstly, maybe let us know where you are. We'd love to know where our audience is this morning. We figure a lot of you are going to be in Australia and NZ. So
I'm looking at the list up here. I'm looking at the list. I see a few. I see a few internationals, Ray. I'm liking that. That might be your Canadian crew tuning in with us. I don't know. Could be. Absolutely. Well, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you are. Pop your city. Roll call. City down below. There you go.
Yes. Well, what is your city, or your town, or your area? And also, if you've got any killer questions, I'd like to know a couple of things. We could do a quick poll, Glenn. What's your biggest issue at the moment? And I guess everybody's got a different priority. But tell us what are your pain points, and maybe it's something that we can cover in these 4 days of this excellent Facebook live adventure. So we're here and we'd love to help. Today we thought the best place to start, Glenn, is
mindset, I guess. But let's give them a bit of a. Well, today's going to be mindset. But again, let's set the tone for the week. What Ray and I did is we just said to each other, how can we add just so much value to these guys because in my opinion, we are right now an industry under duress. And I looked up the meaning of the word duress, and it has connotations of acting in a way other than we would normally act. And I can't remember the exact definition, but because of stress and pressure and a perceived or a very real attack, we're acting as an industry in a way other than would be our highest and best selves, I suppose. Fairy, but I mean, literally the infighting I'm seeing, Ray, the bickering I'm seeing amongst Facebook groups about who's right and who's wrong. And it just seems to be an industry under stress that is manifesting in ways that aren't leading towards, our ideal outcome that got us into real estate in the first place. So Ray and I got together and thought, right, what can we do to add value? What are the 4 kind of components that are most able to have the people who aren't acting under duress, the guys that are still doing 7 figures around the country and around the world? What have they got in common, and what are the areas that they excel in that those people that are struggling, and maybe even I think we're about to see the biggest exodus of real estate agents leaving the industry since 2012. I believe we're in the middle of that right now. I'm seeing people leave the industry. So we broke it down into 4 categories. As Ray said, the first one today is mindset, how to get our heads thinking right. And Ray, tomorrow, what's your thoughts?
I want to kind of follow it through. I want to get into prospecting. As you know, the best ideas around that, and I've got some cool ideas to come up.
And certainly with prospecting, I lump in my take on that. And Ray, I know we're singing from the same page here. Of course, there's prospecting, which is us going outbound through whatever, media, whether that's phone calls, or whether that's door knocking, or whether that is letters, like you're an expert in. But I throw in marketing with prospecting. Meaning, I love it when we can market so that instead of us prospecting, which has connotations of calls and door knocks, we get those suckers coming inbound that they're calling us, So that goes into the same category, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that's like, if you're not prospecting, if you're not getting listings, I mean, you've just said how tough it is. And it's tough here in Canada too. It's like where I am, it's called the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. I think we've got 45,000 real estate agents in Australia and New Zealand, something like that. There's nearly 80,000 here in this city alone, and we're only the fourth biggest city in North America after Chicago, LA, and New York. So there's a lot of agents out there, and there's a lot of people competing for the market. So I don't think there's ever been a more important time to really be on top of your game, and a lot of that starts with mindset. So let's get into it, Glenn. I know you've got a lot of ideas around that. You open the batting, and then I'll chip in where I can.
Open the batting. I'm sure your Canadian American followers, Ray, are sitting there going, "Open the batting? What is that?" So that's a cricket term, guys. That means we go first. Just a massive shout out, by the way. Greg McDaniel is on. Greg runs a podcast.
G'day, Greg.
And I have both, been associated with the real
estate. What a lovely bloke.
Isn't he though, hey?
From beautiful California. He's living the dream, man.
We dragged him down here to Australia just recently. So Greg,
really?
Shout out. Yeah. He spoke at the first $1 Million Agent Summit with the Altman brothers, and I dragged a few imports in and Greg came down. So it's pretty cool.
Check out his podcast, Real Estate Uncensored.
Yeah.
Look it up.
It's our style. It's rough as guts. That's why they like me. But let's start with the mindset stuff. It does really all begin and end with how you think, and that that I see that without it, all the prospecting tactics, all of the marketing strategies that I might help you install later in the week. We're going to talk about some massive ways to convert the business to be you at a great fee. Towards the end, we're going to talk about how to keep those people in falling in love with you over time. We've got a bunch of stuff, and none of the stuff that we're going to teach you tactically will work if in your head, you've got a mindset walking into that listing presentation like the duress we're talking about. It's kind of like, we hear stories about, you can imagine, or maybe you've even got this experience, that if you're on a bit of a roll and if you've just listed the last 3 or 4 that you've gone into and they all had VPA and they all gave you raving fan testimonials, I heard it said by one of my coaches, and I can't even remember which one, but might have even been you, Ray. I don't know. But he said you could almost knock on the wrong door and list the house, because your mindset is so strong that you knock on the wrong door. They go, I'm here. Come on in. And, they weren't even going to list. But because of your strength of your will, you'll, now I'm only speaking metaphorically, but I remember, Ray, once in my head that I left home with only $50 notes, right? And I went and bought a can of Coke. And I bought a can of Coke and I left. And as I walked down the road, I noticed, I only got change of a 20. And I thought, they've diddled me. So I went back and I said, you only gave me change for a 20. I gave you 50, blah, blah, right? And she said, no, you gave me a 20 and, that was your change. I said, no, I know I left home. Anyway, it went back and forth. It wasn't an argument. It was very respectful. But within 30 seconds, I'd been given change of a 50, right? Yeah. Because I was thoroughly convinced that I'd given them a 50. As I got back into my car, I noticed the purchase that I did make before the can of Coke. And I thought, bugger me. They didn't give me change of a 20. I was just distracted, we're busy and all that. I immediately turned the car around, went back and apologized and gave the extra $30 change back. But that was a massive lesson. The sheer mindset around me. Now, she knew that I only give her a 20 because that was the truth. But in my head, I knew, even though it was false, in my head, I knew that I'd done a 50 because I had the evidence to support that. And then only when I was presented with evidence to the contrary did my mindset change that I believed opposite. So the power and strength of your will, of your mindset, of whatever, directly affects your ability to influence, persuade, and inevitably succeed. So it's kind of an overarching theme that without that, you're gone. And with that, it's pretty hard to miss,
I've got a really important point on that, Glenn. I'm pointing a lot today, but I did want to say that. I've got this little saying at a listing presentation that the magic leaves with you. So, when you're at a listing presentation and it's all gone really well, and if you're going to ask, and it's the warm and fuzzies and you got along really great and it just went, it's just that good, and a lot of people walk and they say, well, we're not selling at the moment. They say, that's okay. Let me know. Here's my card. You let me know when you are.
Oh, and Ray, I will, mate. You are like family, Ray. Mate, I can't dream of listing with anyone else. Ray, you're our guy. Thanks, mate. I'll frame this card, Ray. I'm going to remember it forever.
Glenn, let me ask you a question. I know you're not selling at the moment, but when you do make that decision, can I be your agent?
Oh, mate, without a doubt.
Okay. Let's shake on that.
Beautiful.
All right. Now, when I get back to the office, I write a handwritten card. Dear Glenn, thanks so much for your time this morning. I'm looking forward to helping you achieve a great result as your agent, in brackets, when the time comes, smiley face, warm regards, Ray. Locked and loaded. Now, most agents will leave, and getting way off topic, I know, most agents will leave, though, and never ask that question. So they go back to their office, and it's a week, a month, a year, or whatever, but they never got the promise. So the magic leaves with you. If that's your mindset, when everything's great, it's almost like you can see somebody walking out the front gate, and all the little fairy sparkles are just disappearing behind them. And in an hour, it's yesterday's news.
Yeah.
When now it's the warm and fuzzies. You know, so you ever ask for a testimonial after a sale, and the guy says, oh, Glenn, mate, you were awesome. Is there anything I can do for you? You know, that was just such a great result. A week later, it's, that was okay. Thanks for your help, Glenn. The testimonials, Glenn is a great agent. Regards, Mark, or whatever it might be. So,
yeah, for sure, mate. And you know what's interesting? I had a thought around that. Now let me just go back to it. So we did encroach on clothes. That's it. That has a very much, because I talk about some of the principles of influence, and I love what you did there. That what you did there was you made me verbalize, and then I love the physicality of it. So verbally and physically, you made me make a commitment. And human beings, once they've made a commitment, in their mind, we act consistent with that commitment that we made. Yes. It's like yesterday when I went to the footy with Naomi, I was wearing a Freo Dockers shirt.
Go Dockers.
And I even, but here's...
They got their butt kicked, Glenn.
Well, no, only just. Although it didn't help because I put money on them, right? Because I'm, as a non-AFL fan...
4 points, my friend.
As a non-AFL fan, I don't really follow the game. I just am enthusiastic about it because of Naomi, you know. But so what I do is I bet on the team, the Dockers in this case, so that the game is interesting to me. So I'm on the edge of my seat and all of that. So I only put a little bet on. But what's interesting is the minute I put the bet on, in my head, my behavior and beliefs around that are that they're going to win because I've made a public declaration that they are going to win in the form of that wager. So what you've done is you've made them make a declaration that you are their agent. And now, is that going to guarantee they call you? Of course not. But that's one extra component of commitment that now they will act more consistently with that commitment, especially if you give the handwritten note that further cements it. So you've cemented it in 3 media: verbally, handshake, and with the written word
and the handwritten card.
Very, very cool. And so it's lessened the likelihood that you're going to hear. And I've heard this quote, Ray, when people have come to various trainings and things. But here's a quote: "Oh, darn it! Ready? Watch the words. My client list with the competitors down the road. My client." Right? I think, wait a minute. Someone forgot to tell the client, because the way I look at it, it's their client. You know, so we can't miss that. So get back to the head trip stuff. We need to believe it, and we need to use that power to influence. Ray, what's your take?
Can I get into it? Let me interrupt. Sorry, Glenn. I actually asked you if we could do this. You didn't ask me if we could do this, but you asked me if we could do it. I asked you if we could do it, and one of the reasons was I was keen to promote this event that you're doing coming up this month. Yeah,
a week from now. What is today? Monday. It's tomorrow next week.
Okay. May 8 to 11. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth.
Yep, that's it. I noticed, Ray, you've subtly been... I think I'm going to have a graphic...
I'll put the link in there just so people know.
I'm going to do a PowerPoint with taking a bra off, a female PowerPoint taking a bra, and call it a shameless plug, because that's what
So anyway, I've included that there in the show notes. So guys, check out the link. Some great people. Mark Burros is your headline act, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a big fan of Mark since the Celebrity Apprentice, and
Yep.
I see that he's got such a business and marketing and positioning brain on him that he was a
Yes.
great choice. I've been talking to Mark for a couple of years now, I tried to get him to come and co-headline with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I thought the American Apprentice star and the Australian Apprentice star, how good would that have been? So we've been talking for several years now, and I finally wore him down, Ray. That's my secret to success. I'll wear him down. I mean, look at Naomi, guys. I mean, seriously, do you think that happened at a one-night stand? Oh my God. You gotta wear them down in business, in personal life, everything. You gotta wear them down. We'll talk about that on follow-up day, Ray. We'll talk about wearing them down.
Okay. That's called salesmanship, I think.
Yeah, that's it, mate. You doubt my ability to persuade or influence? Go check out Naomi Rogers Twyford and you tell me if I can't sell.
There you go. There you go.
So, Ray, I wanted to ask you about goal setting, mate.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you about, because I've got some unique take on it, but really, does mindset start with our vision of what we want?
I think it has to. I think when you think about it, I always think people think about mindset is sort of so much like in the moment, and it does have to be in the moment, but it also has to be planned. I mean, you need to be thinking about this week, which is why we actually ran this over more than one day, because, you know, what happens tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is going to have a massive influence on your month and on your year. And when you get to Friday, Glenn, all the money in the world can't buy your week back. So, okay, we're getting off the subject a little bit about priorities and stuff like that. But have you heard of the 5-second rule? And that's not when you drop food on the floor. Have you heard of the 5-second rule? I'm trying to think of the lady.
Yeah, where you count down from to wake up in the morning. You just count backwards from 5 and boom.
No, it's when you think of something that you know you should be doing, you have 5 seconds to create some kind of action to make it happen. And actually, I'll send you the link for the podcast. I've forgotten the lady's name. She's done TED Talks, and she has.
Really I know the author, and that's even her way of waking up in the morning is when when you're in that half awake, half asleep, and you know you should be getting up and going to the gym. It's like a countdown. There's like some tension to a countdown, is she saying?
Totally. So, yeah. So, but if you don't action that, if you don't at least start doing it, then chances are by the time 5 seconds comes around, it's gone, and it's often gone forever. So if it's something that you know, and it's in real estate, it's like there'll be people listening to this now saying, you know I've got to call that person today. So make the decision now to call them today. So and don't forget, we got people from everywhere here. New York City. G'day, Ken. Jackie, just do a quick
as
roll
I'm looking
call.
up there, I'm looking up
Mel.
at the screen. I've got a screen up there. So
g'day, Luke.
Yeah, wow.
G'day, Tay from Jindalee. Renee.
And Matt from Rudy Hill. We got everywhere from the Big Apple to Rudy Hill, the big
Mark.
London.
There you go. Mark Emston from NYC. G'day, Mark, and welcome. Greg, of course, from California. Maddie Gray from Rudy Hill. Yeah, there you go. G'day, Maddie, as well. Narelle French. Hi, Narelle. Kim.
Ray, do you feel a little bit like the lady off Romper Room?
I do a little bit.
And I can see Mary and Tay and Renee and Luke.
Well, I just want to acknowledge all of these awesome people.
I'm just kidding, Ray.
Matt, Chrissy, hi.
Give us some of that love. Put that love button. Push that. I like it when you push that love.
Oh, yes.
That's good. Whack
Can
that.
I push it?
I want hearts on the screen. That's what I'm going to push.
I just pushed it.
There you go.
Just pushed it.
Look at that. See that? Look at that. I see Glenn's face all over it. All right. So, Ray, let's talk about the two types of motivation, because I'm big on this, and I love that you've come to give us a principle already that as soon as you do it, whether you go one of these two paths, take the first step towards achieving that. I love that. Let's take the first step. But if we took back a step, I've sort of seen that we can break down whether we are going to do something or not into two paths. And that's kind of, my mate E.T., Eric Thomas, kind of talks about a metaphor called the lion and the gazelle. Now, Tony Robbins uses more scientific wording around that. He talks about going towards something you want motivation, reward motivation. We could call it carrot motivation, or moving away from something we don't want. We could call it stick. We could call it, away from pain. So ET kind of says whether you're a lion running after a gazelle or whether you're a gazelle running away from a lion, there's some motivation there, whether you're moving towards something you want or away from something you don't want. And I don't know that it's not an individual choice, but I seem to get more motivation moving away from something I don't want than moving towards the achieving of a goal, moving away from when I first started doing well, Ray, I got in business and I earned, I got into business myself, and I had a couple of lean years where it just all went back into the business. Then my first year that I did $300,000, which was a good year for me as my own business. And I thought it was like PAYG, that when you make $300,000, you got $300,000. Oh, but no, Ray, there's this thing called tax. Mm-hmm. So for the next year, I went mad hustle, because not only did I have to pay tax in the next year, I had to pay $100,000 from the previous year that I didn't have. So my running away from that giant tax bill, and I'm happy to say that a decade later, I don't owe a cent to a soul in the world. And that's a wonderful feeling when you are completely debt-free in every way. Not owing the tax department, not owing a credit card, not owing a dime to anyone. Everything is in cash. Great feeling. But for that period of time, I was running hard away from that bill. What's your take on away from versus towards motivation, Ray? Am I just an unevolved human that I'll do more to get away from something yucky than towards something good?
I think it's a bit of both, Glenn. I think it's chance of gain and fear of loss. And I think both have in different scenarios and at different times in our lives. I think both have a major impact, is my take on that. Because I can think of times in my life when I've been, when I separated, for example, and I was living in Melbourne, and Liz, my ex, wanted to come to Canada with the kids, only for a year or so. 4 years later, they were still here. So my motivation was I wanted to be with my kids. I wanted to be a dad again. I had to have something. So I guess that's kind of, I don't know how that would relate to your scenario, but I'm trying to think of the big events in my life that really had an impact, and that was definitely one. So, and sometimes I guess it's almost in your intuition, in your heart of hearts, when you know you got to do something, you've just got to bloody well do it. And we procrastinate so often when we know something has to happen, and we put it off. And it's all about our personal happiness. Hey, we're not going to be, we don't live forever. We're not going to be here for 1,000 years. Let's get in and make hay while the sun shines.
Maybe let's spend a bit of time, Ray, if we can. I'm going to give the guys who are on here who are a little bit kind of maybe more like me in that because I'll give the away from examples because it just seems to be that's the way I get things done. And then maybe, Ray, you can give some positivity to the thing. But I'm going to tell you guys just real quick how I have used almost negativity, low self-esteem, low self-worth to fuel me to be what many people argue. And I've convinced myself that I'm still, even though I've got students and people all over the world that would argue vehemently, but I've convinced myself that I'm still nowhere near the top of my game, meaning, Lee Woodward still kicks my ass. Michael Sheargold still kicks my ass. Mark Dwyer. Every other coach in this country still kicks my butt because that way I'm up. Like this morning, I was up at 3 to be on the road at 3:30 to get in a little bit of exercise before you and I, because it's 5 a.m. here. I'm in Perth. This 7 a.m. start was 5 a.m. here. So I was up at 3 in order to do that. Because I figure if I'm up at 3 or 4 most mornings, that gives me a 3 or 4 hour head start on my competitors, the Lee Woodwards, the Michael Sheargolds, who I respect and adore and learned from. I give these guys all the credit in the world because they're my coaches. You are, Ray, So, and then I'll work till midnight because I'm thinking that I need that extra 4 hours at the start of the day and at the end of the day. Otherwise, I haven't got a hope of catching my mentors. Some people would argue that I've already caught them. Some people would say I'm already mentioned in the same sentence as those guys. And for some people who need my particular skill set, they'd argue that I'm number one in the country. And whilst I take the compliment, I don't let it sink in. I don't want to. I use the fact of my inferiority to fuel my I'll just do it because of that. And similarly, Ray, a lot of people sort of ask me about some of when my sort of blow up happened, which was really around 2013. You could say was the first level when actually you and I and Aaron Shiner and we all got together and we did that thing with Eric Thomas with ET. And that was the first blow up. And then the next one was with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I remember with Arnold, that was a big jump. You know, that was a massive, you know, house on the line kind of event. And it's interesting that wasn't a desire to work with Arnold that got me to take that first step. I just set the goal. One of my mentors said to me, and it was Eric Thomas said it, and then Jet Xavier said it with different words. It was, what would your goals be? So here's your take home, guys. What would your goals be? This was the question that was asked of me. If you weren't afraid. And the other mentor, whether it was Jet or whether it was Eric, said, what would your goals be if you couldn't fail? Now, in my head, same question, different wording, right? What would your goals be if you weren't afraid? So I wrote down both answers to that question. Have my childhood hero, have Arnold Schwarzenegger headline at one of my events. That was it. With the safety of that caveat, if you couldn't fail or if you weren't afraid, with the safety of that caveat, it allowed me the space to set the, let's call it a goal, but it was not a goal. It was just me going through an exercise. Now that I'm back in the real world and setting my real goals, well, I am afraid and I can fail or whatever. But I accidentally at an event, Ray, once told the audience that was one of my long-term goals. It's just slipped out. I told them, right? And then as I thought, shit, I put that out there. So, okay, here's what I'll do. Now, Ray, this is me giving you guys, right? If you're a little bit not believing in yourself, this is me not believing in myself. Because, Ray, I got off that stage. I went home that night. I thought, shit, I told him about that Schwarzenegger goal. Now I'm screwed. Okay. So what I was going to do, I thought, okay, I better find out. I don't even know if he does speeches. So I went searching to see what would have to happen. So, and you know what? Here's the damning admission, Ray. What I wanted was when that bill, because I knew he got paid a $30 million Learjet for Terminator 2. I knew his fees, right? I wanted the bill to come back at $2 million or whatever I was expecting, because I heard that Donald Trump was $2 million to speak in Australia years before. So I thought, well, Schwarzenegger's got to be at least that. Yep. So I was expecting to get the $2 million quote for me to have an excuse then when any of that audience came to me and said, hey, how's that Schwarzenegger goal going? Yep. I'd have an excuse to say, well, you understand, there's a reason you don't see headliners of that caliber around the speaking circuits. It's because a couple $1 million, the maths doesn't work. I'd have to charge you $5,000 for a ticket and the industry wouldn't support it. And that's why you just never see that happening. So I was looking for an excuse. That's all I did when I took that first step that you just described. Yeah. After going through a few people who didn't represent Arnold that said they did, if you Google Arnold Schwarzenegger, you'll find about a bunch of websites that don't actually rep him that say they do. So I went through a few of them, finally found his actual representation. And the scariest thing in the world happened. When my excuse came back, it was still more money than I had, more money than I can afford. And I don't know if you can remember, Ray, but I'm sure I came to Aaron. I think I went to Aaron Shine. I don't think I came to you personally. And I said, hey, guys, I'm going to need some cash because it was more money than I had, more money than I could get. It was mortgage a house time, which I did, put the house on the line, and call in every favor from every friend I had to put it on the line. But I couldn't afford to do it. But here's the thing. When the number came in that was too high for me to say yes to, but it was too low for me to have my excuse. So that was the scariest thing in the world. But, as we know, the rest is history, that now that we've done, business with Arnold, a bunch of times and had him to Australia twice and, all of that, it's all great with the benefit of hindsight. But going back to it, the steps that it took to get my relatively negative mindset to do some positive things. Doing exactly what you said, by putting it out there, making myself publicly accountable, and then taking those first steps, and then one thing leading to another, and ended up being a nice outcome. So I don't know if there's some lessons in there, Ray, but that's how I've used relative negativity.
I think there's a huge lesson, and we all said at the time, this guy's got the biggest set of cojones in the southern hemisphere, I think. So I think maybe we said the world. But isn't it interesting, Ray, that now that it wasn't a big set of cojones, it was fear that did it. You know what I mean? Maybe it was, okay. But subliminally, you almost subconsciously or subliminally, by saying that on stage, you kind of you kind of turned it into a real thing. You kind of turned it into a thing. It was just a thought before, but it's a really interesting process. So something in you made you do that, because I don't know. I mean, we're talking about mindset today. I'm wondering if the real word here, and you just said it before, is belief. Because so many times, not so many times, every now and again when I'm talking to somebody that I'm coaching, that I'm working with, and they're saying, oh, look, and, I'm getting these excuses like maybe I shouldn't do this. And I say to them, we're talking maybe about a listing presentation. And when you're at a listing presentation, you got to believe that you are the best person for the job, because if you're not, they'll smell BS from a mile away. And, I've got this theory, Glenn, that when it comes to money, people get a sixth sense and they start to think about stuff, and they know, and they can pick you. And I just think it's such a huge thing. So at a listing, if you're not 100% at a listing presentation that you are the best person, they will find you out. And I think that that's where, my own view on this, having worked with so many, top performers, and I'm sure you probably agree, but I think that's where a lot of listings are lost. And even somebody who's new, they think, and they feel like an imposter. And you and I've talked about this before as well. They come up and they feel like an imposter. So your mindset needs to be, like, okay, fake it till you make it, call it what you want. But if you're going to invest the time to go in there and get the business, that's why I suggest you got to have a great looking pre-listing kit that gets opened before you, something a little bit different, but you've got to have something that's going to change the game. You've got to swing everything in your favor, and your testimonials and that sort of thing as well. But you've got to really believe that you're the best person for the job. A couple of other things I wrote down as well, because I'm big on this. A lot of us, and I think that this is a subconscious condition, and I would say this to everybody who's on the call, and thanks again, guys, for there's dozens of you guys. That's awesome. And thanks for joining us. But I think we beat ourselves up too often, Glenn, on our failures, and we remember the sale that fell over, or we remember the vendor that sacked us. We seem to selectively forget about the 30 or 40 that actually went with us and that we work with, and we got them a great result. So why do we focus on that negative? And while we're on that, why do we keep these friendships and these acquaintances, I guess, with people that might give us the you-know-whats every now and again? And I think we got to be so careful with that, these negative influences. And when you meet somebody, and my gosh, I mean, you've met some amazing people in your life. You've met some of these Hollywood A-list guys, and
I noticed Tools of Titans behind you, I believe, Ray, if
correct.
I'm not mistaken. Tim Ferriss and Arnold Schwarzenegger both in that book.
What a great book! What a great book! You're seeing well.
I spot him, Ray. I spot him.
So, but when you speak to somebody like that and you come away, you feel terrific. And sometimes every now and again there'd be somebody in your sphere and they drag you down. And I think all I'm saying is you got to weed the garden. I think the other big thing about a positive mindset, good belief, and stuff like that is rituals and routines. And I'm a big fan of that. I like to do something for at least an hour a day. It might be walking Roxy the dog, hitting the gym, riding my bike. And I like to get it, it's my prospecting nowadays, but I like to get it out of the way first thing, because it's really important to me. I find if I get a little bit of a workout, I think better. I'm up. I'm up in a thinking sense. I'm functioning better. Hey, I sleep better. My thinking's sharper. So, and that ritual is really important, and that's become such a big part of my mindset. I don't do a lot of meditation. I probably should.
Let me add just something on rituals, because I'm looking at that book in the background.
Yep.
One of the things, because I'm always looking for things that players and winners have in common,
Yep.
And when I hear what you're just saying, and I think of that book with regards to Tim Ferriss, one of the things that, as Tim Ferriss has
keep going,
probably interviewed every successful human on the planet. And in that book, which is wonderful, there's Tribe of Mentors and Tools of Titans, which are Tim's two latest books. And he's looking for the commonalities that those folk have in common. And when Tim and rituals is one of them that he has found. In fact, he asks all of the people that he has on his podcast about their morning rituals. And while some of the rituals differ from person to person, the thing that is consistent is they almost without fail all have one. So, you know, if ever you do want to, by the way, if ever you do want to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger informally, now he's been a bit lighter on it since he had some heart problems maybe a month ago, but he would wake up about 5. He'd just do a bit of light reading, you know, for half an hour while he has a little coffee. He'd jump on a bike at about 6, ride to Gold's Gym from his home in Santa Monica, ride to Gold's Gym, be working out from 7 till 8, then go and have a coffee at a cafe and a little bit of breakfast, and then he'd be home by 9 or so to start his day, almost daily. If he's in California, that's his ritual. So if ever you want to meet up, be at Gold's at about 7:30, work out till 8:30, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to meet him because of that principle. And that's what I love about Tim is Tim's out there doing the work for us, Ray. He's finding us commonalities of successful, you know, people. And now we just got to model them. You know?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I keep this book out here on my brekkie table. And when I'm up early, I grab a coffee and I used to watch CNN or see what was happening or read the paper, but it was all full of negative stuff. There is so much achievement in this book. There are so many cool things. Does that read backwards when I hold that up?
No, perfect. The jar of awesome. I love it.
There's just so much good stuff in here. And I actually, my daughter said, I said I was reading it, and she's studying at University of British Columbia in Vancouver. She's just graduating shortly, actually. And she said, "Oh, can I have it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll send it over." And it sat here for a week, and I couldn't work out why I hadn't sent it. And I'm thinking, shit, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to give it away. So it's funny how you get
Amazon, sir.
I know.
That's the thing I don't like about Tim. Tim, the bastard, won't do audiobooks. I mean, I think he did 4 Hour Body. No, he didn't even read 4 Hour Body. He doesn't like sitting there for the 12 hours reading his books. So, because I'm a big Audible fan, Ray. I used to, you know, back in the day, let's talk about personal development. And because we've delved into this a little bit, to me, that was my way of getting over what you talked about. You got to know you're the best. The way that I absolutely know, hands down, that if someone wants to come to me for my particular skill set, you know, which is marketing, positioning as an expert and all of that, I won't let them go to anyone else because of personal development. I've done more training in that field than anyone, because when I'm out there doing my morning rituals of walking and stuff, I'm not listening to my favorite bands. And I used to be a musician. I'm not listening to Queen and Van Halen and Zeppelin and all that. No, I'm listening to frickin' Tim Ferriss and Tony Robbins and all of my mentors in that field. So I won't let them go to any other seminar to learn what I teach, because I firmly have that belief. But it was the sheer thousands of hours of listening to people like that had me. So for the rookie out there, what I would say is, who's sitting there maybe with a little bit of imposter syndrome, I would say one of the ways you can start to wear down that syndrome, which is the way I wore down that syndrome, was I knew that there was no one else that's done probably about 8,000 hours of listening to home study courses, going to seminars and traveling the world and spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on getting the information that they don't have. So eventually there was a point where that clicked over, where I thought, you know what, maybe this stuff that I've paid a couple of $100,000 is worth more than $50, because I used to sell that on trainings for a $50 CD, you know, and some of the guys bought those $50 CDs, made $1 million. And I remember, Ray, on the very first CD that I ever recorded, I said, knowing that I was going to be charging 2 parts of bugger all for it, I said, now I know you didn't pay a lot for this. So what I'm going to ask you to do is when you make $1 million out of this, buy me a Harley Davidson. And then I jokingly said, just kidding, or whatever, right?
Just kidding.
But I tell you, some 6 years after I made that off-the-cuff joke comment, bloody hell, the buggers did. You know, $25,000 motorcycle just as a tip, just to say thanks. So, you know, what I suppose I'm getting at there is, if you're feeling a bit new, if you spent a month devouring Matt Steinwait's negotiation CDs, or I've got a negotiation 50-minute disc in my pack, so get a copy of that. Or if you want a copy, PM me. I'll give you a copy of my negotiation training. There you go, for free. There's my shameless bribe. If you share this stream either today, tomorrow, or whatever, I'll give you that training. And what I'm going to do is every day, Ray, I'm going to give a different training that you can have a selection from. So today's gift is the negotiation training if you share our live Facebook adventure. Now, have I frozen? I hope I haven't. Let me just make sure.
No,
we're good. So if you did a month of devouring someone's negotiation training, anyone's, you'll lose that. You'll make the first steps possibly to losing that imposter syndrome, because you'll think to yourself, shit, I'm a better negotiator. And by the way, I'm looking at you now right in the eye and saying, I promise you, if you do a month of my negotiation training or of Matt Steinway's negotiation pod or whomever's, you're better than 80% of real estate agents out there, because most of them think of negotiation as getting an offer from a buyer, driving it back and forth between the buyer and seller, saying to the seller, he wants to offer this, saying to the seller, bring your price down, then going back to the buyer and saying, bring your price up, and going back and forth with a contract between buyer and seller. And they call that negotiation. So if that's the benchmark, and it is, then you do someone's training for a month, then you're one of the top negotiators in your world. So within 1 month, you can be rid of that imposter syndrome forever. At least that's the way I got rid of it. I didn't kind of hypnotize myself into thinking I'm better than everyone else, even though that's probably a valid way to do so. I let sheer overwhelm of learning, work, and implementation do that for me. Like, there was just a period of time where I convinced myself, and I don't even know when it was, but it's like, no one would have come close to this stuff. And, it was probably when a bunch of my students started getting freaking out of this world results, 7-figure and multi-7-figure GCI years. That's when I sort of thought, hey, maybe the shit that you're doing is actually pretty freaking good, Twiddle. And so anyway,
it's amazing, isn't it, Glenn? I got a great example on that, and I don't delve into religion, sex, or politics, and I'm not about to.
Dangerous areas.
but I will cite this as an example, and I have no opinion. I'm not going to air an opinion one way or the other. But the current president of the US, if you research this, and this has been said a couple of times, and maybe this is why he has this kind of almost like a Steve Jobs, what it was called, some sort of vortex, where that they say it enough and they actually believe it. But he was raised reading Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking.
Wow.
And look what happened. So, like I said, I'm not making an opinion one way or the other, but on his politics or whatever, that's not my point. But we all said, wow, this is never going to happen. And it did.
Yeah.
And he basically talked himself into it. So what an amazing example of mindset. I've got another great example as well. I know you love podcasts, and I know a lot of our listeners do too. I've just listened to a brilliant one, and I binged it because it's fantastic. It's only 7 episodes, but it's called Empire on Blood, and I'm going to post that there.
Yeah, wow.
And Empire on Blood is about a guy that spent 22 years in New York Sing Sing prison for a double homicide that he wasn't guilty of. I won't tell you how it panned out.
No spoilers.
That would be a spoiler. But how do you stay positive in a high security or max security prison like Sing Sing? Man, that's black. That's dark. If you want to, how do you keep? He wrote 7 business plans. He's written 7 business plans. So how do you keep yourself up? That's just, so check it out, guys. Empire on Blood. It's beautifully told by the same journo that did the Bernie Madoff story. Very clever guy called Fishman is his surname. I think his first name's Scott. Anyway, check it out.
It's awesome. So Craig is just saying shared email to Craig. Craig, I'm not going to make it that bloody easy for you. Come on. Craig, you're going to PM me making the request of which one you want. So if you want the negotiation one, you got to PM me. I'm not just going to, just scour through 100 comments to find your email. I'm only half joking. Well, I'm not joking. I need you to PM me, dude. But, so you got to PM me for my gift. I'm sure Ray's got some goodies for you. But I
see you and I raise you.
Yes, very nice. I purchased that. Ray bloody gave that as a gift on a podcast that Ray and I did not so long back. And I thought, Ray, I demand a refund because I bought that bastard with real cash. Now he's giving it away. Great program, Ray. So it's a gift. How do they get it?
I'll tell them on Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. See, I love that, Ray. You tease them. Very nice. One thing, what I was alluding to before when I talked about personal development was I used to pay. Is that the girl?
Yeah, come and say hi, Christine.
Hello. Oh, she's in a 90. She don't want to do it. Where's Naomi? Naomi's coming down.
She's not.
Hello.
Come here, Chris.
How you doing?
This is my Christine.
Greetings from around the world, Christine.
Can you hear?
Greetings from down under. Thanks for letting me
borrow. Greetings from Toronto. I'm sure it's warmer down there than it is here.
It's lovely. It was 3 a.m. I was out running, so see ya.
Glenn's very big down under, Chris. Oh, I didn't mean that. So anyway.
Oh, you big bugger! I love it. The double entendre. Hey, I love it. A true wordsmith, Ray.
I am.
What I was getting at before when I was talking about professional development is this is how lazy I am, right? People would have books, and they're not real, by the way. That's not real. That's fake. That's a thing. But I've got my bookshelf at home of thousands of books. I used to discipline myself to read, but I hated it. Still do. When Audible came along and authors would read their books to me, my God, it's like, because I used to be a freak. I used to buy the author's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 home study course just so I could get the audio program instead of the frickin' $20 or $30 book, So when Audible came along and Gary V would read his books to me, or Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. Now Arnold's a bit of a sneaky bugger. He reads the first chapter and the last chapter, and then the ghost reader reads the middle. That's what
Keith Richards did, I think.
But I tell you, Audible is just the bomb.
Well, speaking of
$20 at a time on Audible.
Speaking of Audible, you can sign up. You can get your first audio book free if you join. Audible.com, audible.com. So
absolutely. All right. So how do we wrap up mindset, Ray? What's some good take home they can go on? What's something they can do today to have that belief that they're the right ones? So, because just like when we were talking about before, if you positively imagine that you are the one, that you can knock on the wrong door and just list the property just through the sheer power of your will. Similarly, if you've been beat up a bunch of times and you've lost to that major competitor that just burns your bridges.
Yep.
You could have a referral that you could screw up because of the power of your negativity. So how do we get that? How do we get that today?
I would start your day with some positive stuff, or a good podcast or something like that, and have that influence you. I mean, in the early days, I'm trying to think of his name. I saw the cassettes the other day. I still love cassettes. I love the smell of them. But Tony Robbins back in the day, I love that stuff, and it's still so powerful.
Or Tony's mentor, Jim Rohn. I mean, I've listened to Jim most days. I've listened to sweet old Jim's "Don't Wish It Was Easier, Wish You Were Better."
The Strangest Secret.
Earl Nightingale.
Earl Nightingale.
Wow. Founder of Nightingale Conan.
Man.
And you can basically get that free.
So what would I do? The other thing is, how do you get it free?
You Google The Strangest Secret because it's in the public domain now. It's a public domain. It's so old. Now, here's the thing, guys. Don't be looking for the most current content. This stuff goes back. It's one of you were talking about tapes, Ray. The Strangest Secret was a best-selling album. Vinyl.
Yeah.
Right? But I have the vinyl. I have the vinyl.
Wow.
So, yeah, the Stranger Secret is a classic. And again, most of us guys who speak, you know, whenever we talk about mindset, every one of us, including Jim Rohn, including Tony, including all of them, owe a debt to Earl Nightingale.
Yeah. What about in the McDonald's movie, The Founder, where Michael Keaton, I love that scene where he's just getting rejected, and he's in the hotel room and he's just having a little scotch or whatever, and he's playing the self-help record and psychs himself back up into it. So I would use whatever I'd use whatever tools you can possibly get. I'd also ask yourself a question. I'm so big, Glenn, on the listing, anything around, and we're going to get into that this week, but we're going to start on it tomorrow. But anything around the listing, I'm so passionate about, because if we don't list, we don't last, as they say. We need the listing, because everything comes from that. So if you don't have an awesome pre-listing kit that helps you get set up, because they say the numbers are, I think it's over 50 or 60% of potential sellers have already decided who they're going to use before the agents even come in the front door. So you need to have a great pre-listing kit, but you also need to have a really awesome presentation that you're comfortable, confident that you can deliver. You can handle the objections. You know how to deliver your price strategy between the logical price and the emotional. You know how not to give price shock. You know how to let them set the agenda. And you're comfortable and confident. Are you going to win 100% of the listings? No way. Anybody that tells me they're winning 100% of the listings is a liar, as far as I'm concerned. I know there's some good operators out there, but nobody does it all the time. So, but give yourself the best chance, because everything comes from that. And like we were saying the other day, if you lose the listing, it's like losing 4 times your fee, because you lose the fee, you give it to your opposition, and you lose probably 1, 2, maybe 3 other chances of getting other listings around it. So
yeah, I remember Michael Spillane tracked it once. Michael Spillane tracked one listing that he almost didn't get. And if he'd have been what I call a listing snob by saying, I wouldn't get out of bed for that fee, because he dropped his fee a little bit, heaven forbid, he did. He made sure the person knew it. He induced the law of psychological indebtedness to that person in exchange for that. And he could track directly over $400,000. And this is a year or two ago that he told me this. So it's probably over $500,000 worth of commissions that he could track from that one little discount. So it is absolutely all about, and you're teasing Wednesday now, Ray. Wednesday's our listing mastery today. So really, and because I heard John McGrath say it once, and now I'm going to tease tomorrow. What I heard John McGrath say was, if you could be on the shopping list all the time, so that's a marketing or a prospecting kind of solution. If you could be on the one of 3 that is being considered, right, 100% of the time, and if you've got a good enough listing presentation that you can be chosen, you can be good enough 100% of the time, you will have 100% market share, bar none. And even John said, and I agree with you, and I agree with John, that rarely, if ever, will you be able to maintain that long term. But if you aspire to those 2 things, to always be known and at least be considered and on the shopping list and called in, and always be good enough or striving to be the best you can possibly be with regards to the tools that Ray mentioned, with regards to maybe authoring your own book, whether you actually write it yourself or whether you use one like Ray's got, or having impressive tools within your pre-listing kit, like, you open up these video things and it plays a little video of you or whatever. Having the impressive weaponry that we're going to talk about on Wednesday. If you're good enough to be on the list, and if you're good enough to convert, you'll have all the business you can want,
Yeah, totally.
So,
100% agree. I will also, speaking of listing presentation, I will actually throw in my full presentation. So there you go.
Look at you guys. He's bribing you to come back.
And direct mail power, and I'll show you how to do it. So
look at Ray, hey? I love it. See, Ray, that's why Ray's the master. See, it's not just Glenn and Ray's Facebook Live adventure, whatever we bloody called it, with the Bill and Ted theming. And by the way, do not blame Ray for that craziness, right? I do half of my marketing now merely to amuse myself. And for any of you guys thinking, geez, Ray Wood's dropped the professionalism ball. No. I'm sorry. I apologize formally to Ray for being...
We're having a bit of fun.
A couple of guys. Ray, have you heard though, Ray? They've greenlit the 3rd movie. There is a Bill and Ted 3.
I've heard.
Can you believe that?
How bodacious of them.
I love it.
That'd be amazing.
Non-heinous. I love it. All right, so we've gone deep cuts on Head Trip, haven't we, Ray?
Yeah, yeah.
I think we put a bow on it.
I think we've got some really good content there. Can we get some feedback? Is everybody having some? People getting any like
a Q or two? Yeah, well, we've got lots of shares.
Thumbs up, or
let me just click like on a few of these comments. But guys, throw in a Q or two if you've got any. Now I'm looking at why aren't I getting? No, I just don't want them to. Shush. I'm just not getting as many of the. I can't. Oh, there's all the comments. Wow. Yeah, there's lots. I'm here.
Yes, Greg, stay tuned. We're going to show you how you can. It's gone. Live the life of his dreams with more. He wants more listing leads. So yeah.
Who's that? Greg McDaniel.
It is.
I tell you, you want to know about a prospecting beast. Oh my God. I've never seen anyone can prospect like that, man.
You know, he did over 600 calls in one day.
Wow. He is a beast, an absolute beast.
Total machine.
So no, very good. So they're like Mel Robbins is the 5-second rule Davina mentions.
Thank you, Davina. Thank you. Mel Robbins is great.
Kate mentions it as well. Very cool.
Kate.
Matt Farthing says, now Matt's a school teacher, and Matt says, I should take action within 5 seconds to get going to go to school, but I'm enjoying this. Excellent. There you go. Thanks, Matt.
Good on you, Matty. Have a good day. Hey, Scott Lackman from Caboolture.
Wow.
4510tv.com.
Absolutely. What an animal, talking about the stuff we're going to talk about.
Andrew Blacksland. G'day, Andrew.
Very nice. Jack Hackett from Place. G'day, Jack. Well done. Luke is here. Mate, look, there's some comments. So, guys, what I'm going to ask you, can you throw in any questions that you've got, either that we can answer today around mindset, or that you'd like us to answer tomorrow, Wednesday or Thursday, around the topics of listing, prospecting, and autopilot kind of follow-up and kind of getting your community to fall in love with you. I think that was our 4 topics. I know it was prospecting and converting, like marketing and converting. But yeah, so if you've got any questions, I'm just looking.
I was thinking, Glenn, prospecting, the listing presentation, then getting to sold.
Getting to sold. That's right. Actually doing the job. Yeah.
I want to get into price reductions. I want to get into those strategies, managing the seller's expectations, a little bit of negotiating. I've got a heap of content around that I want to get into. So,
nice. Yeah. And in this market, depending on where they are in Australia, at least, because I know we've got people from around the world, but certainly in Australia, the Perth market is kind of coming out of the necessity for that, but still needing it. But the market's cyclic. Even if you're in a market that is doing well right now, there will be a time that is necessary. And I believe Sydney and Melbourne have been crazy for a couple of years now. You're about to need the skills Ray's going to talk about on Thursday. You're about to need it, just like Perth has needed them for the last couple of years.
Well, you've got such a great lineup of talent coming to to your event. So let's just make sure it's the $1 Million Agent Summit, guys. Check it out. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, starting May 8th through 11. Here's my thing, Glenn. I would put it to you that, and I was in real estate in the early 90s. I know what it was like. I know how tough it was. I know what happened when the level of stock dropped 50% and prices came off 30, 40%. It was tough. But the agents that came through that, when the market did recover, and I know this is cliche, but the agents that came through that time did so well because they cut their teeth in a tough market. So a lot of people in real estate, like basically in Australia, we've had a 24-year boom, and that's not going to last forever. There's no possible way it can ever last forever. The tide will always turn. It can't come up the beach forever. So if you can get the great skills that you need while all the taxi drivers or the people go back to driving Ubers or go back to being school teachers or engineers or doctors or whatever they used to do, let them go back to that. If you stick to real estate, if you get yourself along to Glenn's event and follow these ideas and watch what these heroes are doing, and just like I call it, R&D is not research and development. It's rip off and duplicate. Just copy what they're doing there. It's a workable formula. So
yeah, definitely. That's what I look for. And you know what's interesting, Ray, is that the entire industry rips off and duplicates anyway, but 9 times out of 10, they're ripping off and duplicating someone earning 50, 60 grand a year instead of ripping off and duplicating what someone earning $1 million a year is doing. It's crazy. I heard one of my marketing mentors once call that phenomena that we are so guilty of in real estate as, and here's where it goes from G-rated to MM, right? It's not MA plus or R, but it's M. He called it marketing incest. And what he's saying is, just like real incest, a few generations of us copying each other when we're copying failing work, a few generations of that, everyone gets kind of stupid. So, we need to be copying off those that are doing something that is resulting in what we want, not what we don't want,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And there's plenty of great examples out there. I mean, you got to show, like Mark Burros, what an inspirational guy, I just think events like that, if you can get along to see them, it's definitely worthwhile. So
and I've had some, let's call them naysayers, get on there saying, oh, Mark's just there so he can get all the real estate agents to use his products, and I think, wow, you know what? I'd rather you think that and not come, because you'll ruin the energy in the room if you don't think you can learn something from Adrian Bowe, Mark Burris, Chris Gilmore, Jay Stanley over in Perth, who carries 200 plus listings at any one time. Tell me you can't learn a thing or two from a dude who carries 100 listings. Holy crap. Yeah. I mean, talk about vendor management. He doesn't bleed him out the bottom either.
Wow.
He's in a market that needs him to carry that much stock, and he does,
Yeah.
So, so no, very good, mate. So let's have a quick look. Is there any questions in the things there? Lots of comments.
There was one about,
go ahead.
Warm prospecting or something. We'll get into it tomorrow anyway. So
okay. Well, if it's on prospecting, that's tomorrw take.
That many comments here, I didn't.
We should be We should have Naomi looking at them so she can feed us the questions.
We'll be better organised tomorrow.
Renee's saying, can we just keep going? Don't want to wait till tomorrow. Well, Renee, Renee's from out. I think that's Renee from out at Megan Reed's office, I believe, out in the western kind of Beaudesert way. There we go. It is. G'day, Renee. Renee wants to keep going today. See, we're going to tease you, Renee. We're going to let this mindset stuff sink in a little bit, and tomorrow we will blow your mind. So, guys, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Brisbane time. I don't know what time of the world, because we got people all over the world there. 7 a.m. Brisbane time. Figure it out.
5 p.m. Do you want a quick look out the window before I go?
Yeah, always, mate.
Show you Toronto. Have a quick look.
It's still dark here. I'm in Perth, so. Oh, you teasing son of a bitch, Ray. Is that what compelling words and the mastery of the written language buys you, Ray? I like it. I like it.
That's Toronto, Ontario. And over on the right is state of New York. And if you kept going straight up there, you'd end up in Montreal.
Is that what Montreal is there on the horizon?
Yep. No, well, that's Toronto right there. That's the CN. Can you see the CN Tower?
Yeah, I can see. Well, right in the background, there's a skyline. Is that New York?
That's it. No. That's Toronto.
That's Toronto,
that's
right?
Toronto. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually it's making it a bit smaller, but
yeah. All right. Well,
beautiful day.
You'll have to get Ray. I need to come. I'm coming over there. I'm doing a few speeches in America. I'm doing one in San Diego, one in Boston. So there's 80,000 real estate agents there in Toronto alone. We're going to do an event there, Ray. Let's do it.
Why don't we?
Let's do the Can-Oz connection, Canada and Australia. Can-Oz connection.
Okay.
We'll murder it.
Let's have a crack at that.
Beautiful.
When are you coming? You're coming in the summer? July?
When am I coming? We're coming June. There's 2 trips to America in June.
Okay.
And when's the Boston thing? So there's a Boston thing. Then I've still got to come back to speak for First National or professionals. So I'm in America.
That mistake.
Yeah, I know. I'm in America, and then I come back to Australia, and then I'm back to bloody America, and it's like within 2 weeks. I think.
Okay.
Day, but I've got to get up those frequent flyer miles, I guess. So
I'll send my frequent flyer card over, Glenn, just in case you need another one.
Very cool. All right, guys. So tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, new content, new ideas. Get your share button ready, because tomorrow is, of course, my favorite topic. It's marketing, it's prospecting, it's the getting of more listing opportunities than you can possibly handle by every manner you can possibly think, whether that's hunting in the form of calls and door knocks and going out there and catching and killing, whether that's fishing and that's dangling a piece of bait saying, hey, would you like this? Here's the deal of the day, by the way, while I hold this. Anyone who buys a ticket for today for the $1 Million Agent Summit gets a free copy of my brand new release book. I will send it to you. I will sign it. Have I signed this one? No, I will sign it, and I'll send you a copy of my book, Punching Above Your Weight.
Awesome.
There you go. Today's deal of the day, free copy. for anyone who buys. No matter what
Wow.
level ticket, the entry level next to free ticket, you still get a copy of my book. So it's like buy the book and get a ticket free, or vice versa, however you want to.
Prospecting wise, Glenn, I'm going to share a flyer that young 20-year-old Alex Garden used to generate $250K in his first year with Ray White in Biwa on the Sunshine Coast. And it's a flyer that looks like that, but I'll be going.
Cover it. They'll screenshot it, Gray. This is for tomorrow. Quick, cover it.
There's more than just the. There's more than just the. I'll show you how you can create that for free. There's more than just the flyer. There's the formula behind it. So
absolutely.
I said this was going to be 30 minutes. We've been 70 minutes already. So.
Yeah, we got to run. All right, you guys also have a great day. Hopefully that's helped. Meditate before you go into those listing presentations, however you want to word it. Visualize that pen on paper. Boom. Visualize leaving with that listing, and you'll list more than you would have if you just went in there stressed and panicking. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit late. Just center, get in there, confident, know that you're the person for the job, and visualize that pen on paper with that handshake, and you're going to do yourself pretty good. Right.
Until tomorrow, dream big and...
Oh, take names, you son of a bitch. We'll talk about that tomorrow, why I'm calling him a son of a bitch. Dream big, take names, Ray. I love it.
See you guys. Take care. Bye.
Wow. Well, there you go. I hope you liked the episode. If you liked that, then what you need to do is you need to subscribe. You need to get more of this craziness because we got more are coming. I'm never standing still, and we've got so many more guests. We've got so many more strategies, more out-of-the-box thinking. So if you haven't subscribed, literally, you're like throwing away thousands of dollars. Because I tell you, if you haven't subscribed, you don't come back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find you, I'm going to market to you, and I'm going to charge you for the very stuff that on this podcast we give away for free. So whack that subscribe button on whatever your favorite podcast weapon of destruction is, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.